Bearing replacement, how to replace user control, and how to replace the motor control on a Whirlpool front-loading washer. You want to disconnect the power, the water, the hot water is left. Remove the lower 3/4 rear panel and the discharge hose. Remove the top. The top slides to the rear. The hose on the left, looking from the rear, is the hot water. The 3/4 panel has lots of little screws on it. The front controller is covered by the slide out dispenser tray. You want to pop that out first. There's 2 screws in there and then a bunch of pry up positions that need to be lifted to get it to release. The electrical also has some kind of catch on it, so make sure you release the catch and not yank on the wires. Take note of where the wires are, take pictures, it'll help you out in the long run. When you remove the front controller, disconnect the plastic electrical ends at the back. You've got to release the locking tabs. The rubber seal has a front spring that just stretches to loosen to release, and then behind it, when you get back by the drum, there's effectively a giant hose clamp that you have to release. And then you want to take the front panel off. That's like 4 screws also, with the door. It all comes as one unit. Black rubber hose was stuck pretty good. I needed the cotter pin to release it. This is just a hose clamp with a squeeze on it. You need a big plier. When you go to break the nut free, place something through the pulley into the honeycomb to stop the turn rotation of the pulley. And an impact wrench definitely makes the job easier. All the electrical connections to the tub have to be released and removed, set to the side so they're out of the way. You don't want to end up by pinch or cut anything, because you are going to take the tank out. That would be the ground wire going to the motor. The front of the motor, there's like 3 wires and a giant coupler. That's the back of the motor, and you can see the tit that sticks through for the plastic retainer. The heater with 4 wires on the heater. A release of the tit from in the plastic to release the wire. That's the wire path that comes down from the back that you have to release and pull out. The plastic will squeeze with a plier to release the tits. Be gentle with it because you can break them off or crush them. The 3 shocks that are on the tub, there's a black tube at the top. There's a little plastic tab you have to push down on to release and rotate the tube, and it drops away from the tub. But you have to have that little tab pushed down to free it in order to turn it, to release it from the bottom of the tub. The white case is the controller. There's a little tab on the bottom. It comes out towards the front and it just slips right out. If the motor controller is what you think is bad and you're trying to replace, that's the box. Pump rubber just pops out and there's a hood over the wire connector. You gotta flip that. You gotta flip that up and get into the wire. I had to use a jack stand because I was doing it myself. I didn't have a second pair of hands and I didn't want it to drop. It had to go up in order to release the coil springs that are holding it in place. It just comes out the front very easily. 5-gallon bucket came in handy. The clamps, the cotter pin tool made an easy work of it. I would recommend getting a cotter pin tool if you don't have one. The tank's 2 pieces. There's a rubber seal in there in between them. You need to get to the back one, and that's the one that you're going to set on the bucket and pound out the bearings. Use a socket with an extension and a hammer. Dead blow works best. The seal might need to come out before you go to push out the bearing because it might be stuck. The old bearings work great as your drivers. You just tap with a piece of wood on the old bearing sitting on top of the new bearing and shove it on in. Just make sure it goes in straight. When you do put the seal back in, take note which way it goes. The spring side, the open side goes towards the bearing. And you want to put some RTV around the outside. And when you put it back together, just do it all in reverse and refer to your notes that you should have taken and pictures that you should have taken while you were taking it apart. It makes life a whole lot easier. If you're getting the no power, it won't turn on, it can be the connections, which if you get a can of Deox and just spray all the electrical down and wait till it dries, and then turn it back on and see if it'll work. Several times I have found that worked, and a lot of other people have mentioned it as well on their videos in regards to washers and dryers of this type. Deox is available at like Amazon, and you can just spray it and let it dry, which dries very quickly. And then you can reassemble and take a shot and see what happens. If it turns out they are bad, the bottom panel on the front is 3 screws, if memory serves. You drop it out of the way, the motor controller's down on the left. You can see it in the video. One little tab, a piece of plastic pops down, bends down, and then the thing slides towards you, towards the front to remove it. And I've got a better description at the beginning of this in regards to the user controls. That's the front top that's behind the dispenser. And for the dead it doesn't want to turn on or necessarily beep, it can be either the motor controller or the user controls at the top. If you found this helpful, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, say thank you, good positive feedback. I'd appreciate it. I did it in this form for a reason, which was after watching other people's videos, the camera is not necessarily in the right spot when you need to see something anyways. So I thought I'd include stills of the actual locations that you need to plug or unplug or remove as you go.